Welcome to Narrative Strokes. Today we are listening to The Doll in the Guest Room. Amanda had been living in sadness for nearly a year. The world, once so vivid and full of life, had become a dull and colorless place. Her life, which had once been full of laughter and love, had been torn apart in an instant. She had been married to Henry, the love of her life, and together they had a beautiful daughter named Daisy. Their life was perfect, or so it seemed. They had just returned from a vacation, a week-long escape to the beach, where they had made memories that Amanda would cherish forever. But then the accident happened. A drunk driver collided head-on with their car. Henry and Daisy didn't stand a chance. Amanda survived, but the pain of losing her family was unbearable. It was as if her heart had been shattered into a million pieces, and no matter how hard she tried, she could never glue it back together. Her body healed over time, but the scars on her heart remained. No amount of therapy, no kind words from friends, and no amount of sleep could fix the gaping hole left behind. The grief weighed heavily on her, pulling her deeper into depression. She couldn't remember the last time she had smiled or felt happiness. Every day was just a blur of emptiness. After a year of sinking further into despair, Amanda knew she needed a change. The thought of staying in the same place, surrounded by the echoes of memories, was suffocating. She decided to find a new home, a fresh start where the past couldn't reach her. It didn't take long for Amanda to find a small cottage on the outskirts of town. It was perfect. It was cozy, fully furnished, and had a beautiful backyard surrounded by towering trees. A small stream ran through the property. The cottage was far enough from her old life to offer a sense of peace, yet close enough to her work to keep things convenient. It seemed like the perfect place for her to start over, to heal. Amanda moved in with only a few essentials: Henry's wristwatch and Daisy's favorite toys. These were the only things that connected her to the life she had lost. The first few days were peaceful. The cottage was exactly what she needed. She spent her days unpacking and organizing. For the first time in a long while, Amanda felt a small spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, she could start over. But soon, strange things began happening. It started with little things, easily brushed off as mere coincidence. The doors in the house would creak open or shut when no one was around. Lights flickered, casting eerie shadows on the corners of the room. Amanda, still deep in her grief, assumed it was just her mind playing tricks. The loneliness, the sadness, it was enough to make anyone feel as if the walls were closing in. But as days passed, the strange occurrences grew more frequent and unsettling. One morning, Amanda entered the guest room to find something that hadn't been there before: a porcelain doll. It was old, with a cracked face and glassy eyes that seemed to follow her every movement. Amanda assumed it was left behind by the previous tenants. At first, the doll didn't bother her. It was just a doll, after all. She shrugged it off and moved it to the shelf in the corner of the room. But over the next few days, she began to notice something odd. The doll moved. It wasn't anything obvious at first. Sometimes it was found on the bed, other times on the shelf, or even on the windowsill. Amanda tried to convince herself that it was her imagination, that she was simply seeing things. But deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. One night, after a particularly restless sleep, Amanda woke up to find the guest room door wide open, despite the fact that she had locked it before going to bed. The room was in disarray, furniture overturned, drawers pulled out, and there, sitting eerily at the foot of Daisy's stuffed bear, was the doll, as if it had never been touched. Fear crept up Amanda's spine. This was no longer just her imagination. Desperate to rid herself of the doll, Amanda took it outside, walking to the stream that ran behind her house. She tossed the doll into the water, watching it drift away, hoping that would be the end of it. That night, for the first time in what felt like forever, Amanda slept soundly. She clutched Daisy's stuffed bear to her chest, feeling comforted by the soft fabric. She thought, perhaps, that she had finally put the matter behind her. But when she awoke the next morning, her heart stopped. The doll was back. It sat on the guest room shelf, as pristine as it had been before. No signs of damage, no signs of it having ever been in the water. It was as if nothing had happened. Amanda's heart raced. Her fear turned to panic. What was happening? How could this be? She had seen the doll float away. She had watched it disappear. She couldn't understand. She couldn't rationalize it. So she did the only thing she could think of. She burned it. With trembling hands, Amanda set the doll on fire. She watched it crackle and burn, the flames consuming the fragile porcelain and turning it to ash. She felt a momentary sense of relief, thinking that at last the doll was gone for good. But the next day, it appeared again. This time, it was sitting at the foot of her bed, its glass eyes staring up at her, unblinking. Amanda was broken. She tried to explain the bizarre happenings to her therapist, but the words wouldn't come out. She couldn't explain what she was feeling, the terror that had taken over her life. She didn't want to be medicated or sent away again. She just wanted the nightmare to end. But it didn't. The strange occurrences continued. Oil stains appeared on the floor. Water in the shower turned scalding hot, burning her skin. Her body began to show signs of stress. She lost weight, and dark circles appeared under her eyes. She couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't think clearly. Every day felt like an endless cycle of exhaustion and fear. Her co-workers at the office noticed her deterioration, but Amanda kept brushing them off, telling them it was just stress, nothing more. But it wasn't just stress. The doll haunted her. Amanda tried everything she could think of to stop the madness. She tried calling the landlord, but they assured her that nothing was wrong with the house. She even tried asking her neighbors, but no one had seen anything unusual. Eventually, the weight of it all became too much. Amanda's mental state was deteriorating rapidly. She could no longer function at work, and her once bright spirit had all but disappeared. She was a shell of her former self, broken and lost in the labyrinth of her own mind. Then, one day, Amanda simply disappeared. She walked out of the cottage, leaving everything behind. No packing, no explanation. She vanished without a trace. The cottage remained, abandoned and silent, save for the occasional creak of the wooden floors. The doll was still there, waiting. Some say Amanda is still out there, lost in the woods, wandering forever in a nightmare from which there is no escape. Others believe she's been claimed by the doll, trapped in an endless cycle of torment, unable to break free. No one knows for sure. But one thing is certain. The doll waits, and it always will, for the next soul, brave or foolish enough to move into the cottage and try to start over. The end. Thank you for listening to today's story. If you enjoyed it, then comment down below and let me know what you think. I'll see you next time with another story. Until then, keep smiling and don't forget to like and subscribe.